Ladies and gentlemen, our inductee, Boyce Stone. Young teenager Boyce Stone in 1927. Now, this was just a year from playing football for the Albertville Aggies. Boyce Stone played football and basketball for Albertville High School from 1928 to 1932. He excelled in his football positions of guard, center, and fullback. This is one of several athletic certificates awarded Boyce from ASSAS. Certificate of Athletic Award to Boyce Stone, varsity football letter. Albertville Secondary Agricultural School for the season of 1930, awarded this 4th day of May 1931, signed by Coach Hoyt Levy and by J.J. Benford, the principal, who would later be the newspaper man in Albertville. The 1929 Aggie yearbook, commenting on center Boyce Stone, said that Stone played center or guard as easy as Lindy flies a plane. The Lindy reference was to America's hero at that time, Charles Lindbergh. Now, this one is the 1931 team of Albertville Aggies. Let's look them over. On the back row, left to right, Alton Graves. His first, second is Stanley Matthews. Then it's Vernon Moultrie. Fourth is Thomas Howard, the tall lad there, Thomas Scoop Howard. Next to him, fifth is L.P. Dixon, who would later be the sheriff. And sixth is Jesse Morgan, charter member of our Marshall County Sports Hall of Fame. Then Hank Casey, Joe Albritton, and on the end, Coach Hoyt Levy. On the middle row, starting it off left to right, Maldo Johnson, a hard-nosed lineman for the Albertville Aggies. And on his shoulder there in the slot is John J. Davis. And next is our inductee, Boyce Stone. Audrey Childs, Jack Dalton, Pete Casey, Clyde Vann. Second from right in on the middle row is Troy Mitchell, who would later be a Marshall County commissioner. Homer Jones is on the end. On the front row, Barney Davis, we're reading left to right, L.D. Watwood, Bo Smith, Leon Metlock, Paul Thompson, Belmont Ware, and third from right end, Glenn Hearn, who would later be the mayor of Huntsville. Then there's Ben Robinson and Jimmy Hughes ending out the front row. Now, upon graduating from Albertville, Stone played one season for a junior college in Kansas. Then he headed for Howard College, playing the seasons of 1934 through 1937. He picked up the nickname Stone Wall while playing guard and tackle for the Bulldogs of Howard College. And here it is, the Bears may hit Stone Wall. Boyce Stone, the 190-pound guard and one of the 7 Howard Lettermen back for service this year, is counted on heavily to help stop the strong Mercer Bears when they invade Legion Field Saturday afternoon. Stone is a junior and hails from Albertville, Alabama. Following Howard, Stone returned to the farm one year. In 1939, he entered the National Football League with Brooklyn. His contract with Brooklyn called for $100 a game. This letter, dated August the 11th, 1939, to Boyce Stone, Albertville, Alabama. Enclosed are your bus tickets to New York and railroad ticket New York to Farmingdale, Long Island. The bus terminal is directly opposite the Penn Railroad Station, from which leave the trains of the Long Island Railroad. And in the second paragraph, it reads, the running time for your bus trip from Albertville is 36 hours. Trainer Doc Sweeney will assign you your quarters, and either he or one of his assistants will meet each train on August the 20th. The next year, he went to the Cincinnati Bengals and at mid-season was traded to Columbus, Ohio of the New American League. The Columbus Bulls paid him $50 a game to play 2 or 3 games per week. Now, check down this Cincinnati Bengals roster. Down there to number 73, that is Boyce Stone, Howard College, guard, 190 pounds. Returning to Alabama, Stone worked at the steel mill before entering the U.S. Navy. In the war with Japan, he served as a bombardier with a PB-4Y. Although he flew the Japanese-infested waters of the Pacific, we're not sure of all the battles that Boyce fought in, probably Midway, Guadalcanal, and a lot of the other hot spots. We know for sure Wake Island. The PBY was the first with the complete looks of the well-known flying boat, 2 twin Wasp engines. The most famous single engagement was perhaps the Battle of Midway, for they were the first to locate the Imperial Japanese Navy elements. Other big battles for the PBY was at Guadalcanal and Wake Island. A lot of the times the PBY was referred to as a sitting duck because of its lack of speed, although it was a tough and valuable part of the South Pacific victories. Here are some of the commendations to Boyce Stone. November 13, 1943, as a Navy group, his crew sprung the trap set by the Japanese at Kapingamarangi. Then there was the commendation ribbon for meritorious and efficient performance of duty on January 3, 1944. February the 8th, 1944, the following from Admiral Halsey to the boys of Plane 23, Baker 35. A resounding well done for swatting Japs and how. And our final special recognition in his naval awards was for the Battle of Wake Island, the night of April the 5th, 1944. The commendation was the Distinguished Flying Cross. In a bombing flight, Stone was a crew member of a long-range night flight to bomb Japanese planes at this Japanese base. A heavy anti-aircraft barrage was encountered while approaching the target, but the airplane descended to 400 feet and one half of the bomb load was dropped on the northeast end of the runway at Wake. In this run, several shrapnel hits were sustained, seriously damaging the aircraft. One engine was left burning. A fire was started in the tail section. The hydraulic system was destroyed. The hydraulic fluid and the gasoline were streaming into the bomb bay. Despite the damaged condition of the aircraft, the crew extinguished the flames and decided on another run, but sufficient altitude could not be attained to drop the other half load of the bombs. On the return flight, aviation machinist mate Stone and two other crew members stood on the slippery catwalk over the open bomb bay doors for 1 hour and a half and worked without parachutes until the doors were closed manually and the gas leaks were repaired. Upon reaching the base, a landing was made in which none of the personnel was injured. The outstanding courage and the devotion to duty displayed by this man on this occasion are worthy of the highest commendation. From January to May 1944, there were 996 United States sorties delivered against Wake, dropping 1,079 tons of bombs. You've heard about just one on the night of April the 5th, 1944. Boyce, the unsung hero from Albertville, Alabama, survived 7 plane crashes in the war with Japan. One of those crashes killed the entire crew except Boyce Stone. He did suffer a hand injury. This is the Stone family. Boyce and his 3 brothers and sister all were in the military during World War II. The following honor was featured in the paper. Mrs. W.R. Stone, Route 4 Boaz, has 4 sons and a daughter in the service. Number 1 is Mrs. Stone. Number 2, George Stone, Navy. Number 3, Ralph W. Stone, Army. Number 4, Wilma Stone, WAC. Number 5, Milton Boyce Stone, Navy. And number 6, Charles R. Stone, Army. According to his niece, June Peppers, Uncle Boyce may have suffered a hand injury in the war, but it didn't keep him from becoming one of the best bowlers on Sand Mountain. He was a big-time tournament bowler. After the war, he joined the staff of his Aggie teammate, Scoop Howard, who was the new head coach of the Aggies. Stone also served at least part-time for 2 other Aggie coaches, Vernon Wells and Bobby Golden. This is the 1948 Albertville Aggies, coached by Scoop Howard, standing to the right with his assistants. Assistant wearing number 94 is Boyce Stone. Wearing number 64 is Alton Miller. The 48 Aggies would upset the previously unbeaten Wildcats of Guntersville on Thanksgiving Day, and this team featured 3 players as of this date as Hall of Famers here in Marshall County Sports Hall of Fame. On the first row, third from right end is number 37, Frank Reed. On the second row, second player from the left, number 36, Travis Hunt. And then the fourth player, as we read left to right, the fourth player on the second row, number 55, Abby Abercrombie. Now, all 3 were instrumental in turning around the game against Guntersville on Thanksgiving Day. Abby's interception led to the winning drive with a long pass from Kemp to Frank Reed. Herbie Jean Kemp scored the touchdown. Abby ran across the extra point, a 7-0 victory. Captain Travis Hunt played a whale of a defensive game. Jack Wells, number 20 there on the front row, saved the day several times when he broke up passes that would have meant long yardage for the Guntersville Wildcats, or then known as the Marshall County High School Wildcats. Here is a close-up of the coaches. Standing out front there is Scoop Howard. Number 94 is Boyce Stone. Number 64, Alton Miller. Miller, a native of Huntsville, had just joined the Aggie staff after studying under Red Drew and Hank Crisp at Alabama. Here are the 1948 Albertville team starters, coached by Scoop Howard and line coach Boyce Stone. Reading on the line, left to right, Glenn Chandler, Jimmy Frank Smith, Clifford Reed, at center Kyle Davis. Then there's Bobby Stewart, Travis Hunt, and Junior Kemp. The backs, left to right, number 20 is Jack Wells, number 57, Virgil Holder, 55, Abby Abercrombie, number 66 is Irby Jean Kemp. Pat Currington, a former coach of the Aggies, probably did the first live broadcast of a Gunnersville-Albertville Thanksgiving game in 1948. The Albertville Herald reported that Currington did a fine job reporting the game on WAVU. His son, Pat Jr., serves on the Marshall County Sports Hall of Fame Board of Directors. Pat Sr. lives in retirement in Gulf Shores. Boyce Stone, as a bombardier, survived 7 plane crashes over the Pacific in World War II, so it was ironic the way that he died with a bump on the head at the end of a runway in Anniston, Alabama. Stone died on November the 5th, 1960, at age 49, when the private plane he was riding crashed near the Anniston Airport. 3 others were injured, including his teammates from 1932, Scoop Howard and the pilot Stanley Matthews. These teammates from the 1931 photo, Boyce Stone on the front row left, and behind him in the lighter jersey is Stanley Matthews, and standing tall on the right is Scoop Howard. 29 years later, the 3 young men would be together in a plane crash, with Boyce the only fatality. After surviving 7 plane crashes in World War II, Boyce died from a bump on the head following a plane crash near the end of a runway in Anniston, Alabama. They had been to the Auburn, Mississippi State football game when they encountered bad weather and crashed. Among his pallbearers were 3 Marshall County Sports Hall of Fame inductees, Emmett Plunkett, Frank Reed, and Thomas Scoop Howard. Coach Stone, as an Aggie line coach, was directly responsible for several All-State football players. The following is a list of some of the men who played directly under Coach Stone, and they were fortunate enough to play in college. Tommy Maddox, Ralph Smith, Jimmy Bartlett, Jim Pierce, Neil Reed, Frank Reed, Joe Wayne Roberts, and Travis Hunt. Every person who knew him had a deep respect for his coaching ability. Albertville High School had lost one of its finest friends, November 5th, 1960. Ladies and gentlemen, our inductee, Boyce Stone.